All right, question number 7. LeBron operates Ham from Heaven, a sandwich shop specializing in slow-roasted spicy ham sandwiches. Currently, LeBron buys bone-in hams and roast them in-house. These ham cost $2.99 per pound and produce a 58% usable yield. Semi-boneless hams of the same quality cost $3.99 per pound with a 78% yield. Boneless hams of the same quality would cost $6.99 per pound and produce a 96% yield. Let's calculate the EP cost per pound for each alternative. All right. Now, while I seriously doubt that LeBron is going to open a sandwich shop, if he did, let's help him with these calculations, right? So we have our as purchased price per pound. So for our bone-in ham, we see that's at $2.99 per pound. And again, we get that from the words. Our semi-boneless ham is going to come in at $3.99 a pound. And our boneless ham is at $6.99 per pound. So if you just saw these like at the grocery store, you went to buy the ham, you would probably grab the bone-in ham because it's $2.99 per pound. But that might not be the best choice, all right? So at $2.99 per pound, the yield is 58%. For the semi-boneless, it's a 78% yield. And the boneless hams are at a 96% yield. So if we look at our cost per pound, again, going back to our formulas here, it's our AP price per pound divided by our product yield. So we take our as purchased price per pound, we divide that by our yield. So it's actually $5.16 per pound. For semi-boneless ham, the $3.99 divided by the 78%, $5.12 per pound. And for our boneless ham at $6.99 a pound at 96%, we're looking at $7.28 per pound, okay? So if we're looking at our alternatives, our best choice is going to be the $5.12 per pound, or I think that's honestly the best alternative. Now, for the boneless ham at $7.28 per pound, if it's costing you more than this $1.80 in labor, or $2 in labor here for them to carve the semi-boneless ham, you might just go with the boneless ham. Okay, if you're ever short-staffed, that's a good alternative for you because you're not using that labor to cut it. But if we're just looking at price per pound, it is the $5.12. That's our semi-boneless ham. All right, let's look at question number 8. Maxine Wilson is the director of dietary services at State College. Each semester, Maxine carefully monitors the average cost of serving her students dinner in the residence halls. Maxine's attainable cost and actual food costs for the most recently completed semester are shown below. Calculate the efficiency ratio, dollar variance, and percentage variance in each of Maxine's product categories and her total dinner cost per student below. All right, so let's take a look at our formulas here. All right, so if we want to get our attainable product cost, so our actual product cost divided by our attainable product cost equals our operational efficiency ratio, okay? So that's actual divided by attainable. So we're going to take our actual product cost, divide it by our attainable product cost. That gives us our efficiency ratio. Again, that is our actual product cost divided by our attainable product cost. All right, so let's fill this in here. All right, and then if we want to get our dollar variance, all right, and we can look, if we look up into our chapter 1, we've got our this year versus last year variance. Okay, so in this case, we would make that our actual minus attainable. So our actual, subtract out our attainable. And we can go ahead and paste that in. All right, and then if we look at our percent variance, our variance divided by our attainable cost, 2.83%. Okay, so again, that is our variance divided by our attainable cost. And we'll go ahead and we'll paste those in. So we see here, what's the overall percentage variance for Maxine's dinner cost per student? Okay, is this the cause for concern? And it looks like it's about 3.7% off. This isn't huge when you consider that there are a lot of variables when it comes to contract food service, as well as different product costs. Okay, so things might menu prices, or I'm sorry, like supply chain costs might have changed since they have posted the attainable cost. It might just be something that they need to look at. Okay. All right. Which product category shows the highest percentage variance? Okay. What do we think might have caused this variance? I would say, so our largest one here is in seafood, and that is, we see it's 34%, and that is something that it's very seasonal and it fluctuates quite a bit. So that's why you're seeing such a difference in that cost. All right, question number 9. Nancy operates a takeout cookie store in the mall. Business is good and guests seem to enjoy the products. Her employees, mostly young teens, are a problem because they seem to like the products also. Nancy has taken a physical inventory on a weekly basis. This week, her total cost of goods sold figure was $725.58. Nancy has determined that this week she will also compute her attainable food cost from her optimal efficiency ratio. Let's help Nancy by completing the following information using the attainable food cost form. All right, so our actual product cost we see up here is $725.58. All right, so let's look at what she sold. Okay, so we've got lots of different flavors of cookie here. All right, so we see here the cost per dozen. This is if we make the recipe perfect, right? And how many dozens of cookies that we sold. So we see if we sell 85 dozen chocolate chip cookies, they each cost $1.32 to produce. We should have spent $112.20. Let's do it for all of these. Macadamia costs a little bit more. Those nuts are a little more expensive. All right, so this formula, let's go ahead and we will copy it all the way down. And we will sum this up. So these are all the dozens of cookies that we sold, and this is what it should have cost for us to make them. Okay, so $625, $623.24, but our actual product cost here was $725.58. Okay, but this is what we sold. Okay, this is what was rung up at the POS station. Okay, so let's calculate our total sales. We've got 85 times we're charging $3.40 for a dozen. I have to find this cookie place. These are very affordable. So 60 times the 410. All right, we can use again this formula here. All right, so our total sales for the cookie place is $1,879.25. Okay, so our attainable product cost here was the $623.24. All right, and if we look at our attainable food cost, okay, so we remember that our food cost is calculated by our product cost divided by our total sales. Okay, so we're going to take our total attainable product cost. Okay, so this is ideally what it should have been if we were perfect with all of our recipes, and we divide that by our sales. Okay, so our attainable food cost was 33.2%. Okay, so I'm going to actually just change this, and we're going to call this the actual food cost. So let's look what our actual food cost here was. We have our actual product cost, and we divide that by our attainable product cost. So we ran at 38.6% food cost when we should have been running, our goal was 33.2%. Okay, so let's think of some suggestions from keeping her employees from eating all of her profits. Okay, so what happens is we see that 5% there. Okay, let's say we sold 85 dozen cookies for $289. I would say that her staff is probably making 100 dozen, and they are eating or giving away the other 15 dozen. Okay, so some ways to control this would be to allow for shift cookies. Okay, each person's allowed, let's say 2 cookies a day. Okay, and there's rules behind it. Okay, you always get it at the end of your shift. It comes in a certain let's say it always comes in white wax paper, and you always have to eat it when you're off the clock. Okay, so that's a really good way to determine whether or not your employees are stealing from you, because if they're eating a cookie when they're on the clock, the rule is that they have to have it after their shift. Okay, you could also make rules as far as how much you distribute the product for them. So there's only a certain amount that they can make. Like as far as their pars, they're probably baking these. They could bake them closer to order. Okay, they probably have a rule about how long it can sit out, and then it gets to be thrown away, or in that case, they'll probably go ahead and eat them. So there's a lot of things that you can do to monitor that. But my biggest suggestion would be to give them a set amount that they can either eat or give away. And then there's a rule that you can follow up behind it. So, if you see somebody eating a cookie, they can't just say, well, it was broken, we can't sell it. Okay, that's not the rule. You always have to wait until you're off the clock, and, that's when you get your shift cookies or whatnot. All right. Okay, well, that's it for question number 9 and chapter 5. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you for chapter 6.